Welcome to the Explainer. Okay, let's dive into this. Because if you've ever felt like you're just spinning your wheels, hitting a wall, or kind of lingering in this space where you just know you're meant for more, well, you're in exactly the right place. Today, we're unpacking this incredible 7-point framework. It's designed to literally shatter those invisible ceilings and break you free from life's frustrating plateaus. And look, this isn't just about feeling better, right? It's about systematically dismantling the exact reasons we stay stuck, sometimes for decades. So I want you to do some immediate introspection right now. Honestly, ask yourself, where are you stuck? Try to pinpoint that stagnant area you might be, happily ignoring. Is it your fitness? Maybe your career trajectory? Or maybe it's a relationship that's just coasting along on autopilot. We constantly trick ourselves into thinking we're moving forward simply because time is passing, but motion is definitely not the same as progress. So hold that specific area of your life in your mind as we go through this, because what we're about to uncover applies directly to it.
Now, the whole foundation of this explainer comes from this incredible realization by entrepreneur and thinker Myron Golden. Get this, he had this massive epiphany at 3:30 in the morning. He was lying awake with indigestion, just doom scrolling through golf fitness reels on Instagram, and it hit him. He was completely stuck in his own physical fitness. But the real kicker was his realization, I discovered that I have been an unintentional hypocrite. No way, right? He realized that even highly successful, driven people subconsciously hold themselves back. He was only pouring energy into outcomes he consciously believed were possible, while deep down he was secretly doubting his own ability to improve.
And that brings us right to phase 1, mindset, the internal foundations. You see, staying stuck doesn't usually start because you lack resources. It starts internally. It begins with the lessons we simply haven't learned yet. And this brilliantly illustrates the foundation of how change actually works, the be-do-have concept, mapped straight onto time, space, and matter. We usually hyper-focus on the have, right? The matter, the result, the money, the fitness. But actually, scratch that. You can't just skip to the end. Time exists to give you the runway to be, to become the person capable of doing the work. Space exists so you have a place to do that work. You literally have to become the person first, then do the actions of that person, and only then will you actually have the results. Now, part of becoming that person means really understanding the difference between what is true and what is truth. What is true is dynamic. Like, it's true you're watching this right now, but tomorrow, well, that changes. Truth, on the other hand, is static. It's unchanging. Gravity is the truth. Golden uses a really powerful analogy here. He says refusing to yield to fundamental truths is kind of like the ancient slaves in Egypt making uniform bricks. When you refuse to align with truth, you end up making these identical, rigid blocks of belief, and you use them to build the very prison that holds you in bondage. So to break out of that prison, you've got to adopt a totally new mindset. I would rather have questions I can't answer than answers I can't question. I challenge you to look at your deeply held answers right now. Why do we stay stuck? Honestly, it's because we're terrified to question our answers. We get so afraid that changing our mindset means we're somehow abandoning or betraying the parents, the mentors, or the communities who originally taught us those beliefs. But for sure, real breakthrough requires the absolute courage to question everything. All right, once we clear those internal hurdles, we shift gear into phase 2, action, external execution. So now we're moving from internal mindset to external execution. Because it's not enough to just think differently, you gotta physically tackle the specific work you've been desperately trying to avoid. And trust me, we are all avoiding something. There are 3 massive avoidance triggers here. First, subconsciously believing it just won't work anyway. Second, seeking immediate gratification. And third, vague framing, like eat less, move more is so vague, your brain just totally rejects it. But Golden reframed his diet. He set a highly specific, testable goal, 0 glucose spikes for the day. By reframing a vague, overwhelming idea into a specific scientific action, the work suddenly became approachable. And get this, he wasn't even hungry by dinner. Now let's talk about that second trigger, immediate gratification. 1.5. That is the exact number of years Golden worked on his best-selling book without seeing a single dime in return. A year and a half. Spending money, spending time, doing the grueling work with 0 payout. We stay stuck because we're so addicted to a regular paycheck and instant feedback. Listen, if you want to get unstuck, you have to cultivate the discipline to work relentlessly in the dark, just trusting that the payout is compounding in the future. But here's the catch. You have to be doing the right work. You might find yourself beautifully educated to earn a living in a world that, well, no longer exists. The world is changing at a crazy, unprecedented pace right now. You might be working incredibly hard at a skill that stopped being relevant 5 years ago. You must relentlessly develop new, relevant skills, whether that's mastering AI, understanding new software, or just adapting to modern tech. Refusing to upgrade your skills is a massive reason people stay stuck in jobs they literally hate. And that naturally brings us to phase 3, resistance, facing the friction. This phase is all about the external thoughts, the data, and the conversations we actively, intentionally resist letting into our lives. And the biggest culprit here? Cognitive bias. Looking for information, ideas, and thoughts that just confirm the things you already believe. So the crucial point is our brains automatically resist opposing thoughts because, let's face it, it takes way less energy to just confirm what we already know. We end up completely shutting out the exact contrary opinions or new data points that could actually be the key to setting us free. And it's not just our brains working against us, it's the tech we use every single day. Welcome to the algorithm trap. Major tech companies totally exploit this natural cognitive bias. They feed us these echo chambers, dividing users, demonizing opposing views, and literally monetizing polarization to the tune of billions of dollars. If you only ever see content that agrees with you, you are deeply stuck. You have to actively seek out opposing viewpoints to make sure you aren't just reinforcing your own customized digital prison. Now, this resistance bleeds right into our personal lives too, which brings us to those hard conversations you've been hesitant to have. Whether it's with a spouse, sibling, or a business partner, we dodge these talks just to keep the peace. But remember this, opposites attract until they attack. When you avoid the hard, messy conversations, you aren't actually avoiding conflict. You just internalize it. And that just leads to these long, one-sided, resentful arguments inside your own head that end up poisoning the relationship anyway. It all boils down to this really simple, poetic truth. What I resist persists, but what I embrace becomes grace. The more you push back against the hard truths, the challenging conversations, and the difficult work, the longer your stagnation persists. But the very moment you stop fighting the friction and just lean into it, you open the door to the exact transformation you've been searching for. Let's move to and see how this builds into phase 4, the ultimate choice, the unavoidable reality of sacrifice. So we've unmasked the mindset traps, the avoidance of action, and the friction of resistance. Now consider the price of breakthrough versus the price of breakdown. Because here is the ultimate truth. Everyone pays a price. It is literally unavoidable. You either pay the cost of learning, adapting, and enduring the discomfort of transformation, or you pay the incredibly heavy, soul-crushing tax of staying stuck, which inevitably leads to a breakdown. You don't get to opt out of paying. You only get to choose what you're buying with your pain. I really want this phrase burned into your memory today. Reward weighs ounces. Neglect weighs tons. The temporary discomfort of having that hard conversation, of dragging yourself out of bed early to work out, of studying a complicated new piece of tech, that's light. It weighs ounces. But the heavy, sinking weight of regret, of looking back 10 years from now and realizing you stayed stuck just because you were afraid to be uncomfortable, man, that weighs tons.
Which leaves us with the absolutely most important question of all. What price are you willing to pay to get unstuck? Think back to that stagnant area of your life we identified at the very beginning of this explainer. What is the specific sacrifice you need to make today? You've got to stop waiting for it to be easy. Stop waiting for it to be comfortable. The breakthrough is right there waiting on the exact opposite side of the work you're avoiding. So what are you going to do about it today?